Hello on the Daily Family. Happy day to you, whatever day you're listening to this. I hope that you're having a good one. I am going to talk about mindset today. It's a mindset episode, and this was a request. A few weeks ago, I asked Instagram who had some episode requests, and so this is one of those requests, and the question was, can you do an episode around mindset and worthiness and feeling confident in yourself? And I was like, oh, yeah, we can definitely do an episode on that because that is my bread and butter. So I'm very excited to dive into that. Before we dive into that, I need to tell you about my Launch with Power Mastermind. This is a mastermind that is about to rebrand, actually. It's going to get a new name. It's going to be the same mastermind. It's going to be the same content. It's going to be the same idea, except that the intentionality is going to be a little bit different. And before it was called Launch with Power. And the whole idea of that was like people who are launching businesses come into a space of people who are doing the same thing and let's grow together. And that was really great. I am ready to expand this a little bit, and this mastermind is getting a rebrand, and it's going to be called the Scale to Six Mastermind. So this is now going to be for people who are looking to scale their business to 6 figures and beyond. And, you know, the coveted like 10K mark is 6 figures. That's a 6-figure business. And so really helping people scale to that 10K and beyond is really where I thrive and where I love to help people get there. And so this is going to be a mastermind for that. And anybody who's already in there is already in there, and that group is rocking and rolling. It is a rolling mastermind, which means that you can commit for 6 or 12 months and pay per month. You can pay in full. You can do whatever you need to do. But the space itself is just a vortex of people who support you, hold you accountable, expand your mind, get you to think deeper than maybe you have in the past, ask bigger questions of yourself, ask bigger questions of your clients in your business. It's just a really, really powerful space, and we are ready to welcome in new people. And so registration is open for that. You can click the link in our show notes to apply, or you can slide into my DMs on Instagram at Danielle_on_the_daily, and I can give you all of the information. I just think that we seek counsel in people that maybe we shouldn't, because if people haven't gone where we're going or they're not doing what we're doing, it's really hard for them to hold capacity for us. And like, it's not really fair for us to expect them to. And so putting yourself intentionally into a space and committing to yourself for 6 or 12 months, that's a huge energetic shift when you're like, I'm going to grow my business. I am committed to growing this business. And the energetic shift comes when you make big, bold choices like that and you move in that kind of way. You know, the universe gives back. God gives back, right? If it's God's shot, it can't miss. And I think putting yourself into a vortex of people, an environment that includes these kind of people that are going to grow with you and they're going to push you to kind of step outside of your comfort zone, it's the most magical thing ever. And then you don't have to seek counsel from people who you just love, or like your best friend from college that like doesn't know what you're doing and can't hold capacity for that. Which I don't think they should. So again, you can click the link in my show notes to apply, or you can come find me on Instagram, Danielle_on_the_daily, and you can get the link from me there. You can always email my team as well at hey@daniellemccleary.com, and they can send you more information as well. But we are open for registration, and we are excited to have you if this is something that is calling to you. Okay, now let's talk mindset. And mindset is such a general term. I think I'm kind of bored of the term mindset, because mindset is just, it's so generic, and it's really easy for people to be like, yes, I work on my mindset. Okay. Maybe you read a book. Great. Maybe you like listen to Tony Robbins on the weekends. Maybe you're looking for like, you're watching free trainings. Maybe you listen to this podcast. All of those things are really great, and they're all working on your mindset, and they're all, getting you to a certain point. There is then a point of like plateau, I think, with that kind of that energy around, I'm working on my mindset. Because to work on your mindset is one thing, but to make the choice to commit to yourself in a way that is so powerfully self-led is a completely other thing. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today, because me just being like, here's how to grow your mindset. I don't need to tell you that. Like, you've listened to this podcast enough. You've probably read enough books to know how to do it, but something is still stopping you from doing it. And I think that is what I can really shed light on today. And so what I mean by making the choice to do it is to work, the reason why a lot of people don't work on their mindset, the reason why a lot of people will like get to a certain point and then they plateau and then they feel like, nothing's happening and then they kind of regress, is because they are afraid of healing these wounds that have kept them stuck for a long time, because these wounds have been what completely they've attached their identity to, right? Like, people become their wounds essentially. And to heal that means that you have to admit that maybe you've been the one in the way the whole time, or maybe it's you that hasn't made the choice. And this can be really daunting for people. So people go, oh my gosh, like, it took me so long to like mess myself up, and like the idea of healing it just feels really daunting. And so I'm not going to do it. What if you could actually just align with a new frequency? Like, what if right now you could just be like, you know what? I don't identify with that version of myself anymore, and I'm going to change. Because here's the deal. There have been so many different versions of you throughout the years. Like, if you think about how many different versions of you have truly existed over the last however long in your life, it's a lot. It's a lot of different versions of you. And there's a lot of different versions of me. And what that tells me is that, like, my identity, I'm holding up quotes right now, like, my identity is not really an identity. Like, there is no such thing as identity. And what we are made to think is that there is an identity. But if we can literally change and become a different version of ourselves every year, or every 6 months, or every time we get a new relationship, or every time we cut our hair, or every time we get new makeup, or every time we move to a new city, if our identity shifts and we like kind of can, we can become a new version of ourselves, then identity really doesn't exist. It's just something that the ego creates. And if that's true, which I believe it is, then that means you can literally align with a new frequency like right now. You could literally align with a completely new frequency right now. And that, I think, is the piece that people miss, is they don't commit to the growth, which, when I say growth, I mean radical self-acceptance. I mean radical self-awareness. I mean like the ability and the willingness, because you're already able. It's not an ability thing. It's not a capability thing. It's a will. The willingness to say, everything that's happened to me or everything that I've been through has been a choice. That immediately takes your power back. You immediately take your power back in that moment, and you can stand taller in your personal power. And if you can stand in your personal power, then you can align with a new frequency immediately, which, yes, it's mindset. It's also the ability to go, I am no longer aligned with the version of myself that felt like they couldn't grow, that felt like they couldn't achieve things, that felt like they needed, quote, mindset work. I no longer identify with that person. I'm deciding in this moment to identify with the new version of myself, which is a person who, like, growth and working on myself and taking accountability for everything that I've been through and radically owns all of my decisions. That's a non-negotiable for my life from this point forward. You can literally choose that right now. Like, right now, you could literally choose that. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're like, well, if that was true, Danielle, then wouldn't I do it? It is true. And no, you probably wouldn't, because your ego is a really strong thing. And if you've let your ego win your whole life, then your ego is used to winning. And so it's just like a kid, right? A kid who always gets its way. And then all of a sudden you like decide, you tell them no. They're like, wait, what? I mean, look at Veruca Salt from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, right? Like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Depending on what generation you are, it's either Charlie or it's Willy Wonka. I'm of the Willy Wonka era. But it's like Veruca Salt, right? Like, the girl never was told no, and then Willy Wonka told her no, and she had a full-on conniption fit. That's your ego, y'all. Like, your ego is so used to you losing to it. It's so used to beating you that now your ego doesn't know how to do anything else. Your ego is like, wait, no, I win every time. And we stay here in this box. We stay here in this like purgatory of I can't work on myself, or I have mindset issues. That's a self-inflicted purgatory that your ego puts on you because it's scared of growth. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't grow. It just means that your ego doesn't know that part of you because you've never been there. So what if right now you were like, I no longer identify with that version of myself and I'm aligning with a new frequency. And yes, I'm aware that my ego is going to try to stop me. But when my ego tries to stop me, I'm going to keep moving. Because here's the deal. What we've started to perceive fear as, right? We perceive fear as it's like I'm from Chicago. We perceive fear as the thing that we should like turn away from, right? Like, oh, that's scary. That means I shouldn't do it. Wrong. Fear is an activator. Fear is actually a sign that you're probably headed in the right direction. I'm not talking fear for your life. I'm not talking like, an earthquake happens and you're scared to death. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fear you have of growth, the fear you have of identifying with a new version of yourself. That fear, that's not real. That's an activating feeling that we've been taught is bad, but it's not bad. It's actually the path to a new version of yourself. It's actually the path to success. So when you feel fear and when you decide to do something and then immediately you get this rush of panic or guilt or shame, that is literally the sign that it's probably in the right direction, because here's the deal. Your ego does not try to stop you if it's not growth. Your ego loves if you stay stuck. So anything that doesn't align with staying stuck, your ego is going to be like, danger, Will Robinson, danger. And it's up to you to choose to move through it. And a lot of us don't. And that is why we stay stuck in these loops and these patterns. And trust me, I was there for a really long time. I stayed stuck in a lot of loops and patterns. And then one day I was like, you know what? I'm done. I am a person who gets to choose to be worthy of the life I desire. I choose in this moment to become worthy of everything I desire. And because I choose it, it is so. And I choose to make decisions, right? Half of this like quote mindset work that we're talking about and that I get asked about all the time is literally a choice. It's literally the choice to become something different. It is literally the choice to align with a new paradigm. It is literally the choice to align with a new reality. And that choice is yours any second of any day. It is not something that has to be far, 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 far off in the distance because you just started this work. You could literally choose it now. So the question is, will you? It's not can you, it's not are you able to, because you are able and you can. It's will you? And then will you continue to choose yourself over and over and over and over and over again until it literally is so conditioned, it is now part of your muscle inventory. It is muscle memory to choose yourself. It is muscle memory to accept fear as an activator and get excited by it. I'm not afraid anymore. I'm not afraid of fear. Fear, when I feel it, I'm like, thank God. Okay, I feel fear. That means I'm headed in the right direction. And you can choose to do that as well. So this isn't just like mindset. This is like literally you have to be willing to choose yourself. You have to be willing to align with a new frequency. You have to be willing to say, I no longer identify with that version of myself that insisted on staying stuck because I was too afraid of growth. That's all it is. That's all it is. And when you do that, then investing in yourself becomes easy because that's the first part. It's not like you invest in yourself. I tell my clients this all the time. I'm like, don't invest in me unless you're willing to choose yourself, because otherwise you're going to buy the course and then you're not going to complete it, or you're going to jump into the mastermind and you're never going to participate. You have to choose yourself first, and then the investment becomes easy. Like, because I choose myself every single day, investing in my coach for $60,000 was like a no-brainer. It was like, duh, I'm going to do that. And duh, I'm going to show up to calls. Duh, I'm going to rearrange things because my growth is a non-negotiable. Choosing myself is a non-negotiable, and I'm done not doing that. So you have to be willing to do that. You have to. That's baseline. Choosing yourself and standing in your power, that's the baseline. So get there. And then the rest of it's easy. I hope this was helpful. Please come and tell me about it in the DMs. I would love to have this conversation further. You know, I love you. And as always, if you write a review on Apple Podcasts, if you go to Apple Podcasts and you write me a review and you give me a 5-star rating, screenshot that before you post it, send it to me on Instagram or email it to my team. And you can get a discount off of anything that's of more value. So I love you, and I'll be back soon. Bye.